Days later, workers start to remove the weird mountain. Its owner was given just 15 days to dismantle what took more than 6 years to build. Rumor has it that 1 year on, they're still struggling to take it down. But the homemade mountain is not the strangest thing on China's skyline. Since the 1980s, the cities in the region have been transformed from low-rise peasant dwellings to amazing flights of fancy as their residents get creative.
There's a replica of the Eiffel Tower that's been built that stands at 108 meters high. There's a church that's been built recently that's actually in the shape of a giant glass high-heel shoe.
Even ordinary streets like these are not quite as they seem. Some enterprising entrepreneurs have started constructing housing and entire street complexes on top of China's towers. The following program deals with mature subject matter and contains coarse language. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Life Below Zero, Alaskans battle winter's icy grip. Water! Soup braids the open tundra to expand their arsenal. Glenn takes tea for survival.
I can feel it in my feet. It's vibrating.
Chip scrambles to people's freeze. And a novice fights for a foothold in the wild.
You learned that about technology?
I have a little journey I'm going to go on. What's the tiny little bit? My mobility and ability to get to other locations. I'd like to widen my sphere with that. So I ordered up and had specifically made an Argo negative all-terrain vehicle with tracks so that I can have a mode of transportation. Bob's going to be coming in about an hour, picking me up, and Ernie. I don't feel comfortable leaving her for a undetermined amount of days on her own out here.
In order to retrieve the ATV, Sue will have to face the things she spent years avoiding. Civilization.
When I go to town, I am always it's just always pushing up. Living like this is not something I live alone. Very comfortable being alone. I've always craved extreme isolation. I registered that I live alone, but that does not mean and does not mean anything. When I go away, I'm preoccupied with making it bulletproof as I can from the elements and from possible people coming in. The windows, the doors, are they shut? That one's shut. Those windows are secure. That door is shut. Go check the other side. Looks good on this side. You know, in a really strong wind, these trailers will be buckling and, twisting, and it will pop the door. I have no control over the weather. It blows like a son of a bitch out here, and the snow drifts building. Winds that I get out here can be upwards of 100 miles an hour. That go a few days, and your camp is done. And I can lock every door in place, but a lock only keeps out an honest man. Bush law states you always leave the door open, you always leave some food and fuel in enough. And that's just the way it is. This is Sue. There is food and fuel available. Please leave me a note if you do use anything. Remember, this is my home. Treat it with respect. Thank you, Sue.
It's a good life, but it can be a hard life. It's one of these lives that
with access to highly sensitive information to make a series of unfounded and outrageous allegations, wild outbursts on the internet and television about this administration.
But the White House was unable to cite any evidence Brennan misused his intelligence access or monetized his proximity to it. Asked if this is tied directly to his criticism of Trump, Sarah Sanders said this.
Not at all. The president has a constitutional responsibility to protect classified information, and he has access to it.
Yet the White House is also reviewing clearances for 9 other Democratic officials who have criticized the president, including
James Clapper, James Comey, Michael Hayden, Sally Yates, Susan Rice, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and Bruce Orr.
one name not on that list, former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn, who pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about his communications with Russian officials. Yet the president never revoked his clearance. Asked why he's not on that list, the White House deflecting today.
Again, certainly we would look at those if we deemed it necessary, and we'll keep you posted if that list gets updated.
The president's statement on clearances dated July 26th, nearly 3 weeks ago. But it was just announced the White House struggles to defend itself from making former staffer Omarosa Newman's tell-all book. The president remaining behind closed doors today as he lashed out at the special counsel on Twitter, calling the investigation a rigged Russian witch hunt with no credibility. That, as his lawyer Rudy Giuliani argues, the facts are up to them.
In the eye of the beholder. No, that's not. I get it. But they're always well validated.
Now, John Brennan has responded, Jim, saying that he believes this is directly tied to his criticism of President Trump. He says it won't deter him going forward, but he does fear that this is sending a message to those who have their security. They
The one thing all the people on that list have in common, they have criticized this president. Taking Collins of the White House, thank you very much. So, in depth now is CNN crime and justice reporter Shimon Puppycam, as well as CNN law enforcement analyst Dr. Campbell. He is a former FBI supervisory special agent. Shimon, the director of national intelligence, I'm told, was not consulted on this decision. I'm also told that the CIA was, in the words of official knowledge, caught off guard by this decision. Has this ever happened before? A president, senior official, security, clear others?
No, now that we know of it, it certainly seems to be unprecedented by all accounts. You talk to people, I've talked to people, I've spoken to another, really no reason, no really concerns, and to take such a step, right, you have to show, is it classified information, is the person under some criminal investigation, and really we have nothing to suggest any of this, certainly by the former CIA director. So it is unprecedented. It is unprecedented for the White House to meddle with this, to go ahead and make decisions again for the sponsoring agency, who here probably was the CIA, to circumvent the CIA, to go ahead and just do this unilaterally on their own and from the podium, right? Nonetheless, before the American public, before the people there who watch these briefings, to do this in this fashion is certainly unprecedented.
Josh, let's talk about the timing of this, because not only does this happen when the White House is in something of a controversy with former aide Omarosa, but also exactly one day after John Brennan, the former director of the CIA, criticized President Trump in a tweet. I'm going to read that tweet now. He said the following: "It's astounding how often you fail to live up to minimum standards of decency, civility, and probity." This is him addressing the president. "Seems like you will never understand what it means to be president, nor what it takes to be a good, decent, and honest person. So disheartening, so dangerous for our nation." Is it a stretch to imagine, Josh Campbell, that this was political punishment for criticism like that?
Not at all. I think that definitely factors into play here. I think there are 3 issues that are all happening at the same time. First of all, there's this issue of distraction. How you think about some of the other major issues that are taking place right now. You have the Paul Manafort trial, the president's former campaign aide who's being prosecuted. You have the Omarosa revelations. We've been talking the last couple of days about these racial epithets, possibly the president's been accused of uttering, and this is all an attempt to distract that. I'm convinced that there is a running list inside the White House of topics that they can pull from whenever they need to try to distract. The second issue comes down to the tweet that you just mentioned. I think it's an issue of impulse. Now, this is a president who, he gets some type of cathartic release by going after his enemies. I'm sure he saw that tweet and was very angry by striking back.
Met with government officials to think they're any closer to fixing that.
Nations. And I think the Trudeau government, one thing is they sort of watched the relations. I don't think it's clinically proven to be clear access to is benevolent.
It's all what it's all about here. I think that at the end of the day, the motives here are sinister, they're selfish, but they're going to have serious implications for U.S. national security.
One of the things they disagree with the president on is the assessment of the intelligence community that Russia unequivocally interfered in the election. Clapper, Brennan, and others. That's just one of many points of contention. Shimon, we did the math here on this long list of people targeted now. Nearly 300 years of experience in government, some 268 years of national security experience. You look at James Clapper there, 47 years going back to the Vietnam War. Michael Hayden, nearly 40 years. John Brennan was in the CIA for 25 years. Is this consequential for the intelligence community for them to lose this eligibility for access?
Well, certainly it is, Jim, because when you think about it, what if the current CIA director wants to call John Brennan and say, hey, you were dealing with an issue while you were CIA director, and I need to talk to you about this. And it's a classified matter, a secret matter. He now cannot talk to her about that matter. In the case of the former DNI director, James Clapper, he said on our air around 3 o'clock that he has talked to former White House officials. This now does not essentially allow these people, or in the case of certainly the former CIA director, John Brennan, to have classified, secret conversations with current officials. They may want to bring him in for his expertise on any number of issues. So that's where the consequence could be in terms of, on a national security level, certainly the current administration.
You know what John Brennan was in charge of, by the way, just a reminder, he was the point man on Osama bin Laden at the time when he was killed in an operation. Experience that might be valuable in the war on terrorism. Imagine that. Josh, what kind of signal does this send to those former officials or current officials who stand up and criticize this administration or the president or its policies? Is this intended to silence them?
It possibly is intended. I know it's certainly a byproduct, this chilling effect that is now going to go out to anyone who may be in a position of wanting to speak out to criticize what they are seeing in this administration. But I can tell you what, you look at the caliber of these people, these individuals who have dedicated much of their career and their lives to public service. I don't agree with everything that they've said. I don't agree with some of the language that's been used to criticize the president. But I know to a person, these are patriots, and I know that there are a lot more like them that are in government. They may, the intention here may be to try to deter them from speaking out, but that's not going to stop good people from standing up whenever they sense wrongdoing and pointing it out.
And we got to remind people, these folks, they have served Republican and Democratic presidents multiple times. Not an issue of politics in their career. They've served both Republicans and Democrats. Shimon Prokupecz, Josh Campbell, thanks very much. We're joined now by Congressman Don Byers, Democrat from the great state of Virginia, also former Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, I should mention. Thanks very much for taking the time.
Absolutely.
Here's reading, you tweeted after this came out today, very strong words about this decision. I'll just repeat it for the sake of our audience. You said, quote, Trump is clearly punishing John Brennan for criticizing him, cracking down on a dissent and retaliating against private citizens' free speech. The president has adopted the weak, paranoid, authoritarian behavior of a dictator. Those are strong words, those are remarkable words. But it's also very clear. I mean, this is a striking move toward authoritarianism. This is what dictators do. They shut down the press, they shut down dissent, they jail their opponents. Or in this case, they steal their security clearance. And it's mean, it's petty, and it's ironic, given that Ivanka and Jared have security clearances who are busy having secret meetings with Russians about hacking emails, as opposed to a patriot who served our country for all these years. What are you and your colleagues in the House going to do about this? Do you have any Republican support for responding to this? We've had very little in the House. There have been a number of Republican senators, I don't know about this today, but over the past couple of weeks, they've been willing to speak up. We're not going to pass legislation in the next couple of months that will address this. However, we need to do that in the years to come. One of the pieces of legislation that's floating around right now takes away the president's ability to revoke the security clearance and gives it the director of national intelligence with the director of CIA. Do you have any Republican support for a measure like that? Not yet. Maybe after today we'll get it. It was
into the rain, quite severe. So what we're going to do is switch them around, clean them up, put it back together. Here comes the hard part. This little guy back on and strong. Oh, there. Yeah, we'll put the drum back on. Then we'll take it up for a ride. What would you think of that? Nothing. But I don't like wrestling.
well, and the reason they keep these clearances so that they might be consulted when the country is under threat. If they're revoked, as John Brennan's has now been revoked, that can't happen if there's another 9/11, for instance, like that. And to lose the wisdom and insight of a Clapper, a Hayden, a Brennan, people that were there when we captured Obama, who were there for both Bushes and Reagan and Obama. This is an incredible amount of really important insight into how the world works. And we instead got Donald Trump with very little insight leading us. Is this an enemy's list on par with Nixon's? Sure, it looks like Nixon's. But out there, I mean, Nixon's release was hidden until the day Sunday. You get the press secretary reading the enemy's list on national television. Yes, well, it's funny how often in these situations it's not something that's sort of whispered in a corridor, it's something that's writ large in the public. Of course, this comes as this White House is facing troubles. It has a former aide now accusing the president of using horrible racial epithets, claiming she has a tape. We haven't seen any evidence of that yet, and it may not be true, but still, it's a controversy that this White House clearly does not like. Do you see through this as a transparent attempt just to turn the page? Well, I think it could be all these things at once. He clearly is distracted, but he's also so impulsive and so undisciplined and so emotionally reactive. It could just be anger also. Someone suggested today that will we revoke his security clearance when he's no longer president? We've never done that for a president before, but he's setting that kind of precedent. Sources with knowledge tell me that the director of national intelligence, Dan Coates, by statute, the senior most intelligence official in the country, not consulted on this decision. I'm told by another source with knowledge, the CIA, or John Brennan, the former director of the CIA was caught off guard by this decision. Should that be worrisome to the American people? The president is making intelligence decisions of consequence without consulting his senior most appointed advisor. Yeah, this should be a great concern to Americans, but no surprise this time. But he did his Helsinki visit with Putin. I mean, once again, Dan Coates said, quote, he said, what? They're catching the intelligence community totally off guard again and again. And it's a shame because these are the people who have decades of experience and understand how best to proceed. If this is indeed a threat to national security, to make a political, you might even say a petty decision like this with national security consequences, as a co-equal branch of government, Congress, must Congress stand up now to check the president on this kind of behavior? Yes, absolutely. And I think that's what American people expect. They don't expect us to be vindictive or mean, but they do expect that there be a check and balance. And that when he's wrong or when he goes a step too far, we've got to say enough. And not just with our words and with our tweets, but also with legislation. If you take back the House, we pass legislation to prevent it. Absolutely. And I hope we pass it in a form that it can get the 60 votes in the Senate. It would be important to put it on his desk, even if he needs it. Congressman Byron, thanks very much for taking the time. Very much. Coming up next, the breaking news, blistering reactions from lawmakers after President Trump revokes the security clearance of the former director of the CIA and threatens several other former senior officials. And the Paul Manafort case will now go to the jury after closing arguments wrap up in the fraud tax evasion trial of the former chairman of the Trump campaign.
Casual Friday. What does that even mean? Collar? No collar. Untucked. Maybe a move. See, Wednesday. Don't worry. Our expert stylist have you covered. Better? Better. Now, mint warehouse, dressing down from head to $3.99. Plus, buy one get one free on select items. It's time to like the way you look. Have you been told you need neck or back surgery? If so, you do have a choice. Call Laser Spine Institute and say yes to a pain-free life with our minimally invasive spine surgery.
of 2 pennies. That's still 160,000 pounds of copper. It's actually a pretty good use of the metal.
The beach wouldn't get to go to the toilet.
You can't go into a restaurant.
We've never eradicated more poverty in history. We have more people working. We have the highest rate of optimism in almost 2 decades. So the idea that I think he's biting into the medium world that we talk about apocalyptic end, but actually, all you got to do is go back to '68 and see that.
You texted me over there and you said if social media had been around then, the country may not have survived.
Yeah, if Twitter and Facebook were around in 1968, we wouldn't be around now.
Let me ask you about this, Jesse, because we're seeing this several times where a candidate, a 2020 hopeful, goes out and says something quite provocative, like Elizabeth Warren said about the police at Netroots Nation. Then they end up having to walk it back. They backtrack it or they end up apologizing. Are they all just like in this like demolition derby to see who can knock each other out?
Well, historically, you'd think the Democrats are ready to win, because that's what usually happens in a midterm like this. And they're ahead a little bit on the congressional ballot. So you said just keep their mouth shut, nominate normal centrist candidates, raise a lot of money, and be anti-Trump. They can't contain themselves, though.
Covered evidence of corruption.
Inside the courthouse, there is an elite syndicate of magistrates and prosecutors that are taking bribes and rhino-poaching cases.
Provider since 2008, so we trust them. Reliable nationwide coverage for way less money. That's the way we like it. Switch today and get your first month of service free. Call, go online, or find us at Target.
Guys, is this you busting out of your pants? Out of shape, no energy or drive? Nutrisystem for men. I'm Chris, and I lost 120 pounds on Nutrisystem. On Netflix, I lost 43 pounds on Nutrisystem. Lose up to 18 pounds and 8 inches overall in your first month. Real oats. Put down the phone and get with them and save 40% off every program. 40% off breakfast, lunches, dinners.
The Statue of Liberty. Actually, our suddenly mysterious lady, aliens.
Real name, going back age, is Liberty Enlightening the World.
It all works like a charm. Bartoldi raises the money to build the statue in no time. United States finds the funds for Lady's pedestal, and bingo! The statue takes her place in the Big Apple. The truth is, the dough doesn't flow on either side of the Atlantic. So, during construction, fundraisers try some novel ideas, including taking some of her body parts on tour. The Lady's Arm and Torch make it to Philadelphia in time for America's centennial birthday party in 1876. Visitors are wowed, but it doesn't open many big wallets. In Paris, Bartoldi puts the poor woman's head on display. Fundraisers charge curiosity seekers a franc apiece to climb into its crown. Finally, after the arm returns from America, Bartoldi assembles the whole statue outside his Paris foundry.
Just stood there for a while. People marveled at it, but there was no place for it to go. There was no place for it to land in America.
Yep, finally, the statue is finished, but New York still hasn't raised enough money for the pedestal. The statue sits in Paris for another 8 years. Finally, Bartoldi becomes fed up with waiting for the finished pedestal, so he disassembles the creation, crates it up for shipping.
Well, over 300 pieces eventually shipped to the United States in over 200.
Well, then Republicans.
At this point, just Democrats seizing on this news, criticizing the administration's move, saying it looks a lot like Richard Nixon's use of an enemies list to retaliate in unprecedented ways against critics and raising some significant national security concerns, particularly for someone like John Brennan, who knows a lot of the secrets and presumably with some key issues that are facing the CIA and other intelligence agencies. So far, not much still coming from Republicans, but the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, told us that he is concerned that this is just going to be the start, or perhaps the Mueller probe is next.
either the clearance is revoked or in the process of being revoked. To me, smacks of Nixonian type practices of trying to silence anyone who's willing to criticize this president. And do you think that they were? There would be nothing this White House could do because this White House and will stop at nothing to try to divert people's attention.
Warren was suggesting that perhaps the president was trying to remove his other investigation. All the things I said earlier, Jim, have not yet weighed in on this. Just senators are just getting back to Washington. We kind of press them on this. And the House members have been on recess. You recall last month, Speaker Paul Ryan said this is just the president controlling people in the purview of the executive branch, not the legislative branch, but he has not commented yet now that the president has actually taken this action and revoked the security clearance.
Thanks. More control. The president's team took another really alarming shot at the Mueller probe, the special counsel. What's the latest attack?
Yeah, that's right. Rudy Giuliani, the president's attorney, told Bloomberg that if he doesn't get it done in the next 2 or 3 weeks, he will just unload on him like a ton of bricks, write the damn report so we can see it and rebut it. It raises quite a lot of questions about what exactly he means. Of course, they have been criticizing the Mueller probe relentlessly, and there's no sign that this is going to wrap up by September as Giuliani and the White House have been demanding. Of course, we know that at least one witness is coming on September 7th. There's no signs that there's any resolution where the president is going to sit down with the Mueller team. So perhaps this is going to be just a further escalation of the rhetoric we're hearing from the White House and the president's training team trying to undercut the credibility of the Mueller probe in order to rile up their base heading into the midterm.
Wonder what he's talking about with flooding. Interesting. CNN thank you very much. More news now. Closing up in the fraud trial of Manafort. Kara Skinnell, she's been she's outside federal courthouse in Alexandria, Virginia right now. Karen, this is Robert Mueller's first trial. How has it been for the broader investigation to come away with conviction?
Well, Jim, this is a high-stakes prosecution, and if Mueller's team wins, I think it will send shockwaves to the Trump camp, to his allies, friends, and others who work on the campaign, just to show the strength of the Mueller investigation and the persuasiveness of their case. But if the prosecution loses here, it will also embolden those who are calling for this investigation to end. Like Manu just said, Rudy Giuliani is saying that the Mueller team needs to wrap this up. And wrapping it up is what happened today. We have closing arguments from both sides, with prosecutors saying that Manafort lied to keep his fortune, and then when that fortune dried up, he lied against the banks to persuade them to give him $20 million in loans. Now, the prosecutors also tackled the issue of Gates, Manafort's right-hand man, telling the jury that the defense's raising of affairs that Gates may have had was a distraction, and telling the jury that it was the documents that were the star witness, not Rick Gates, Jim.
Now, I understand the defense is closing Trump's time as campaign chairman. How did it?
That's right, Jim. So the defense brought up navigating the campaign, did this, and think that not that this prosecution was politically motivated. So the defense team was arguing that the prosecutors were digging through Manafort and a charge that they were stacking up the charges against the one loan that Manafort had applied for but did not get, asking the jury, why would you have that additional count? What would that be if the jury's considerations were behind this prosecution? Now, the judge had earlier told them that they couldn't make this argument, so he said he would instruct the jury that they cannot consider any motives of the Department of Justice. The judge is currently giving the jury instructions on the law, which is still ongoing. Once that wraps up, the case will go to the jury and deliberations, Jim.
CNN's Kara Skinnell outside the courthouse. Thanks very much. Coming up, breaking news. President Trump making really an unprecedented move against his critics, revoking the security clearance of the former director of the CIA, John Brennan, and threatening several other former national security officials. Plus, is the president trying to change the subject after being put on the defensive by a former aide and former apprentice star? Was he simply outsmarted by Omarosa? We're in the situation.
All money managers might seem the same, but some give their clients provides cookie-cutter portfolios. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to your goals and needs. Some only call when they have something to sell. Fisher calls regularly, so you stay informed. Some advise on commissions, whether you do well or not. Fisher Investments fees are structured, so we do better and you do better. Maybe that's why most of our clients come from other money managers. Fisher Investments, clearly better money management.
This is your wake-up call. If you have moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis, month after month, the clock is ticking on irreversible joint damage. Ongoing pain and stiffness are signs of joint erosion. Humira can help stop the clock. Prescribed for 15 years, Humira targets and blocks the source of inflammation that contributes to joint pain and irreversible damage.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Help stop the clock on further irreversible joint damage. Talk to your rheumatologist right here, right now. Humira.
Good catch, buddy.
Thanks.
From laser measured 4 hours to tech shade to tech liner for your bed and tailgate. Bump step to no drill mud flaps. WeatherTech has everything you need to keep your truck protected all year long. Order yours today at WeatherTech.com, the ultimate protection for your vehicle. Running a business means I can't waste time, especially when I'm hiring. I used to pour over resumes, but now I post my jobs on Indeed. Their screening questions help me get to my short list. People with the qualifications I need, like 5 years experience. All saving me time that I get to put back into running my business. Hiring's better when you've got your short list. Start your first job posting with free premium placement on Indeed.
At Wayfair.com, we think that when the big stuff ships free, it's just better.
Cover better, crunch better, crunch better, walk better, roll better, do better. Yeah, better. Oh, Wayfair has free shipping.
Game changer.
That's better, free better, everything's better. Free shipping, orders over $49.
Shop better at Wayfair.com.
Wayfair, you got just what I need.
Hey, Dad. You suggested a good housekeeper?
I think I might know someone. I'll take quotes from your top 4 guys, and then why don't you go ahead and match me with the best ones for my job?
You can't expect your neighbors to do everything Home Advisor can, so to find and book a top-rated home pro for free, just ask Home Advisor.
In the state, the judge is still thinking sex discrimination exists.
Ruth knew what she was doing in laying the foundation.
Put women on the same plane as men.
Protect their body. Helps to keep women not on a pedestal, but in a cage.
Introducing Pulse. Broken phone? We fix that. New TV to install? We do that. Need a smart home setup? We do that too.
I can do the robot.
Couldn't be easier. We'll be there in a heartbeat 7 days a week. Now that's great service. Check us out at Pulse.com. Pulse, for the ups and downs of digital life.
Are the credit cards in your wallet actually the best ones for you? At NerdWallet, we sort through hundreds of credit cards to find the top cards for balance transfer, travel, earning rewards, and other perks. Using your unique info to narrow the search, NerdWallet makes it easy to find credit cards that work harder than the ones you have now. Stop missing out. Visit NerdWallet.com to find the cards that are made for you.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in the news.
Back to our breaking news. President Trump has now revoked the security clearance of the former director of the CIA, John Brennan, a 25-year veteran of the CIA. The president says he's considering similar action now against former FBI Director James Comey, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former CIA Director as well, Michael Hayden, several others. You see them there. Let's get more reaction analysis from our experts. John Kirby, beyond the spectacle here, Are there national security consequences to this? We did a little math, and the 10 names that you rattled off, or rather Sarah Sanders rattled off, have 268 years of experience in national security. You want the ability to call on their expertise, do you not? By maintaining these clearances and call them in if you have a question.
In normal administration, absolutely. This one, probably not so much. I can't see these guys bringing Hayden and Clapper in to talk or Brennan to talk. But what he's done could affect future administrations and future opportunities to bring in and pull in on their expertise. And you're right, they have a lot of experience that the nation should be able to draw from. There's also going to be, in my view, a chilling effect downstream. So, this isn't going to necessarily change the way they speak or write and talk. I get that. But there are plenty of other mid-level officials who still need those clearances to either do their jobs or to help advise at lower levels in the administration. And this decision by the president have a little effect on that.
5% on our earlier instances where these intelligence official issues of the day, I imagine there are a whole host. I think you mentioned you still have a clearance. It's not like you're walking into a.
I don't have access to.
Right. And that is. Gives us what you to see that it's called upon, right? Fair enough. When you looked at this decision, Susan, as he also served in the NSA, one of the intelligence agencies, were any of the reasons cited by Sarah Sanders cause for revoking the
No, absolutely. Security. We know that because none of these were consulted, the ordinary process wasn't used, and because there are important security reasons to allow this type of consultation. That distinction between eligibility and access. John Brennan lost access as soon as he left the government. What Trump did today was revoke his eligibility to see classified information. That means whenever the director of the CIA, Gina Haspel, the director of ODNI, high-ranking intelligence officials feel for national security purposes that they need to consult with Brennan, you can understand why you would want to be able to talk on this before you. Were difficult to
point at the time when he was killed. You're looking for another terror bad guy. Might you want to consult someone with that level of experience?
Not if you're Donald Trump, apparently. If you're Donald Trump, you don't think you need to consult anybody except yourself. I mean, this is.
Might the American people want their friends to consult people with that kind of experience?
I think they might. I think they would. I think they should. And this is an abuse of power. This is a First Amendment issue. I mean, these are people who happen to disagree with Donald Trump on certain issues regarding national security. As a result of speaking out, which is what we are allowed to do in this country, being punished, they are being to strip your security clearance away from you. Now, some of these people, because they didn't do their research, some of these people didn't have clearance anymore, but they stripped them. It's petty, it's bullying, it's an abuse of power, and it is a violation of the First Amendment of the Constitution. Period.
It's a place, and I think it for time, which is trying to essentially change the subject. We've obviously been talking about Omarosa on Andrew Newman for the last couple of days, raising very uncomfortable topics for this president, whether or not he uses the N-word. We saw the White House yesterday not able to just miss that out of hand, talk about just racism in this administration. So that was very uncomfortable. So you have the president doing something very classic, changing the subject here. Question is, I mean, we've seen this before. Does he sort of conjure up something out of thin air going forward to do the same thing? The other interesting thing about this is this wasn't really Donald Trump's idea, right? He voted on Fox News for months and months before he did it. Then ran it to the White House and turned on Breitbart has mentioned it as well. So this is what we did.
I want to remind people, folks, because it's rich for the White House to make this decision now. Just a few months ago, that brief clearance of Rob Porter, former White House staffer who was escorted out of the building, this is the Sarah's on the question of security clearance. With this explanation, have a look.
Look, this is a process that doesn't operate within the White House. It's handled by our law enforcement and intelligence community. And We support that process. It's the same process that has been used for decades for other previous administrations, and we're relying on that process at this point. I do think that it's up to those same law enforcement and intelligence agencies to determine if changes need to be made to their process.
We support that process. It's handled by our law enforcement and intelligence community. I'm told today that the Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coates, was not consulted, and the CIA was caught off guard by this.
There isn't a process.
Right.
There is Donald Trump,
Yeah.
who says, maybe listening to Rand Paul or whoever he was listening to, saying, these guys are out there criticizing me. I'm going to cut them off. And by the way, I want to change the subject, as Nia was saying about, from Omarosa. What process is she talking about? But there is a process that actually does exist. There is a process for revoking when there's cause. And actually, there's even a process for exemption of that. Whenever the White House wants to circumvent that process, they can get the signature from the head of the executive agency. So Dan Coates or Gina Haspel. What we see from them circumventing the process, when essentially the president invoking his constitutional authority, is he couldn't get either of those people to put their names to a piece of paper saying that this actually was a security threat at all. And it actually could open them up or refuse to look at that.
There's laws that like, for instance, not putting the information on the form as the president's son-in-law did.
What about Flynn? General Flynn? The FBI. Does he still have his security clearance?
Let me ask you, is it a category of was this an intentional distraction? Caught by our White House team, my colleague has dealt with the statement announcing this as released by the White House after that press briefing, dated July 26, 2018. This was apparently imposed some more than 2 weeks ago. The White House said that was a touch base mistake. I don't know how you touch base with dates this, but it looks like Lori Borges does not. You get involved in things like this before the security did. It looks like it's on the shelf and Rosa holding up from her own problem. Let's drop it today.
And all probably get it and talk about something else. I can't write anything why they would think that us talking about this is any better than they're talking about because this is enemy of power. We have a little bit of morally treasonable to suggest that the president is above criticism. He shouldn't be criticized. And I really think that this White House and this president crossed that line today.
Listen, guys, thanks so much. There's much more to talk about. Coming up, we'll stay on top of this breaking news. President Trump revoking the security clearance of the former director of the CIA, John Brennan. But first, authorities now investigating cyber attacks against the Democratic opponent of this, a congressman known for his pro-Russia views. We're going to read the details of that alarming story just ahead.
At the Joseph Only sale up to 60% off almost everything in store. All traveler suits $2.99. Dress shirts $4.89. Plus, take an extra 40% off all clearance and find exactly what you're looking for. The 4-day only sale, only at Joseph Bank.
I visualize travel rewards. I receive travel rewards. Going out, going anytime, rewarded.
Learn more at theexplorercard.com.
Here's a trick, Jake. When you search hotels on TripAdvisor, the destination and the dates of your stay. TripAdvisor searches over 200 booking sites to find the best deal on the right hotel for you. TripAdvisor.
So you just walk around telling people Geico could help them save money on car insurance?
Yeah, that and homeowners, renters, motorcycle and boat insurance.
Oh, that's nice. What happens when you catch a fish?
Oh!
Geico, more than just car insurance. See how much you could save, Bob.
I'm okay.
Okay, we need to get all your school supplies today.
School, grade, done.
Done.
Hit the snooze button and get low prices on school supplies all summer long. Like these for only 25 cents at Office Depot. Office Max.
It's where a soccer mom and a billion can find the car you love. Somehow.
Transitions, light under control.
The best part about being a bath fitter installer is the review. Homeowners greet us in the morning and love that we're going to install a beautiful new tub right over the old one without tearing the bathroom apart. But they're never quite prepared for what they get come the end of the day. We call it the wow. They see their new bathtub that's high quality, more beautiful, they can't help but smile. Since it's bath fitter, lifetime, guarantee it.
You too can have a bathroom you'll love. Call now or visit bathfitter.com.
Breaking news now, the FBI is reportedly investigating cyber attacks against the Democratic opponent of a prominent pro-Russian Republican congressman. Our Nick Watt has been working the story for us. Nick, were these sophisticated attacks, and do we know yet where they came from?
Well, Jim, we do not yet know where they came from, but we have spoken to this candidate who claims he was hacked. He is Dr. Hans Kierstead, and he was running against Dana Rohrabacher in California's 48th. Now, he says that, quote, my company was attacked multiple times, and it was very sophisticated. My congressional campaign was attacked multiple times. It was a very concerted effort. It was very real. Now, apparently, the main thrust of the attacks, which according to Rolling Stone, which first broke this, they say that there were attacks on the candidate's email and on social media platforms. Now, the tactic for the email phishing, so somebody pretends to be someone else, sends you an email trying to induce you into clicking a link and giving away information. That is apparently what happened. Now, the candidate himself says that he has been in contact with the FBI. We have not yet managed to confirm the FBI is indeed on this case, but this does bear the hallmarks of some other alleged attacks we've seen on the DNC, for example, during the 2016 campaign, and Mueller, in one of their indictments of those Russian intelligence officers, claimed that this same tactic, this spear phishing, was used on various election officials in Florida. So no one is saying yet who is definitely behind this, but people are definitely whispering this could be Russia.
Yeah, John Podesta, and that's how you got on the spear phishing email. Any more special scrutiny given to the fact that Rohrabacher, who presumably would benefit to some degree from this, happens to be a congressman who's very pro-Russian, very strident in his pro-Russian views. Is that relevant to the investigation?
Well, it's perhaps not relevant, but it is certainly raising some eyebrows. And by the way, no indication that any of these attacks actually were successful or impacted the vote in the primary at all. But listen, Rohrabacher is disparagingly known by some as Putin's favorite congressman. He's made a number of trips to Russia. He's claimed that Russia was not, in fact, behind the DNC. He's also kind of poo-pooed claims about Russian human rights violations. He is clearly a friend of Russia, is pushing closer ties to Russia. So that does bring this into more focus, brings more attention on this. But as I say, Jim, there is as yet no indication, no proof we have that indeed Russia was behind this hacking. Certainly nothing to suggest that Rohrabacher himself was in any way involved. Jim.
Nick Watt, thanks for looking into it. There's still a lot more to investigate there. Coming up, more on our top story. President Trump revoking the security clearance of former director of the CIA, John Brennan. The same action against several former intelligence officials. Plus, as the feud between the president and former aide Omarosa ranges, new questions about his use of non-disclosure agreements. President Trump trying to buy her silence.
The first person to survive Alzheimer's disease is out there. And the Alzheimer's Association is going to make it happen by funding scientific breakthroughs, advancing public policy, and providing local support to those living with the disease and their caregivers. But we won't get there without you. Join the fight with the Alzheimer's Association.
Feel amazing today with Urban Naturals Higher Potency, fast-acting liquid soft gel formulas for women. Available at retailers nationwide and online at urbannaturals.com.
How can you say when you book direct at choicehotels.com, you always get the lowest price in our rooms, guaranteed to stay in a really low voice? Carl?
Lowest price, guaranteed.
Just stick with Butterbook.
Book now at choicehotels.com.
Hey, Stacey. I'm almost home. I'll let you in, okay?
Doorman service, brought to you by ADT. Smart security designed and installed just for you.
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need or can't afford? Now you can sell your policy for an immediate payment.
We bought life insurance when our kids were young to protect their future.
Our youngest just turned 40. We no longer needed the coverage.
That got us to thinking about letting our policy go. So we did some research and called Coventry Direct. I learned that you could sell all or part of a life insurance policy, even a term life policy. Turns out, people have been selling policies like ours for the past 15 years. Who knew? We sold our policy. Now we have money to help with the medical bills.
And to add to our retirement.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may be a candidate to sell your policy. Call 1-800-382-9600 or visit CoventryDirect.com for a free information packet. 1-800-382-9600. Coventry Direct, redefining insurance.
If your moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's symptoms are holding you back, and your current treatment hasn't worked well enough, it may be time for a change. Ask your doctor about Entyvio, the only biologic developed and approved just for UC and Crohn's. Entyvio works the site of inflammation in the GI tract and is clinically proven to help many patients achieve both symptom relief and remission. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. PML, a rare, serious, potentially fatal brain infection caused by a virus, may be possible. This condition has not been reported with Entyvio. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, experience frequent infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Liver problems can occur with Entyvio. If your UC or Crohn's treatment isn't working for you, ask your gastroenterologist about Entyvio. Entyvio, relief and remission within reach.
You have this cultural moment that everybody feels they need to be part of. Suddenly, everyone was listening to everything.
What do you think, Christina or Britney? I said Beyonce. The 2000s, Sunday at 9, only on CNN.
If you suffered serious injury due to an Assure permanent birth control implant, call the number on your screen now. You may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Assure has recently been linked to an increased risk of hysterectomy, fallopian tube surgery, fetal death, organ perforation, implant removal, device migration or breakage, life-threatening ectopic pregnancy, and even death. If you had an Assure permanent birth control implant and suffered any of these serious injuries, call 1-800-253-3917.
Hi, I'm Jo London. Today's senior living communities have never been better. With amazing amenities like movie theaters, exercise rooms and swimming pools, public cafes, bars and bistros, even pet care services. And there's never been an easier way to get great advice. A Place for Mom is a free service that pairs you with a local advisor to help you sort through your options and find the perfect place. A Place for Mom. You know your family. We know senior living. Together we'll make the right choice.
Tonight, amid accusations from former White House aide Omarosa that President Trump tried to buy her silence, new questions about the use of non-disclosure agreements inside this administration. Brian Todd has the details. Brian, how common are these?
They're pretty common, at least among the Trump people. Jim, President Trump is furious with Omarosa. Some say he's panicking over her new book, and he's coming after her for violating a non-disclosure agreement she signed to work with his 2016 campaign. Trump biographers say his obsession with those agreements reflects the backstabbing, paranoid culture of his inner circles. President Trump, in typical fashion, lashing out against a former aide who he feels betrayed him with vicious name-calling of Omarosa Manigault Newman and claims that she violated a deal with him. Trump tweeting, "Wacky Omarosa already has a fully signed non-disclosure agreement." Trump's presidential campaign tonight also face an arbitration in an NDA she signed. NDA, or non-disclosure or non-disparagement agreement. Omarosa's explosive new book, Unhinged, portrays Trump as unfit for office. She tells a dramatic tale of refusing a cushy $15,000 a month retainer from Trump's 2020 campaign because it came with another NDA.
They tried to buy off my silence.
If Omarosa's NDA with the campaign was anything obtained from another Trump campaign source, she could be in violation. Quote, do hereby promise and agree not to demean or disparage Mr. Trump. NDAs prohibit an employee from badmouthing a former employer. They're widely used in companies, and often in campaigns. Omarosa says she did not sign an NDA with the Trump White House. But White House officials say many others there have signed them.
We have confidentiality agreements in the West Wing. Absolutely, we do.
The idea is to make someone very afraid primarily for their reputation and their bank account.
Some on the Trump team say other administrations have also forced White House staffers to sign NDAs. A former Obama communications director told us she knows of no one in the Obama White House who had to sign one.
I was never asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement when I was working on the Obama presidential campaign, when I was working on the Kerry presidential campaign, and certainly not in the White House, except when it related to classified information.
But Donald Trump has a history of using NDAs, both for his businesses and his private life. This non-disclosure agreement is the one drawn up between Trump's lawyer and porn star Stormy Daniels, who says she once had an affair with Trump. A Trump biographer says his obsession with NDAs speaks volumes about the culture in Trump's inner circles and his own paranoia.
This idea of someone speaking negatively about him really does enrage him. It makes him furious, and it makes him eager to exact revenge.
CNN has told a lot of Trump White House staffers are now no longer signing non-disclosure or non-disparagement agreements. People close to the White House telling CNN they are largely seen now as pretty much unenforceable.
Tom, thanks very much. Coming up, breaking news: President Trump launching an unprecedented attack on a critic, revoking the security clearance of the former director of the CIA, John Brennan, and threatening other former senior national security officials with the same punishment. Does the president now have an enemies list?
The Mitsubishi Motors Summer Season Pass Sales Event. 0% financing for 72 months. And no payments for 90 days on select models. Hurry into your local Mitsubishi Motors dealer for our award-winning line of vehicles. Exciting offers end September 4th. This is not a bed. It's a revolution in sleep. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed from $9.99 intelligently senses your movement and automatically adjusts, so you wake up ready to train for that marathon. And now, save up to $500 on select Sleep Number 360 Smart Beds. Ends Wednesday.
Imagine one day to get the summer-ready body you always wanted. Imagine one day to a slimmer waist, taller arms, and thinner thighs. One day isn't someday, it's now. Sonovella, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist, can help you lose fat and transform your body in as little as one day.
Absolutely, the next day you see the results. 100%. I wish I would have done it sooner.
Using advanced micro-laser technology, our experienced board-certified plastic surgeons can target multiple problem areas in just one day. Call 888-470-4969 for your free, no-obligation consultation and find out how to get one area free. That's your stomach, inner thighs, even your arms, free. And with locations nationwide, there's a Sonovella near you. Get our best offer of the year. Book now and get one area free. Payment plans available. Call 888-470-4969. Now.
Transitions. Light under control.
Check on us weekend. Having some friends over for a swingers party. You should come over. 8 o'clock. With Sling, we can watch all the live TV shows we want.
Without paying for channels we don't need.
Start slinging for $25 a month. Try your first 7 days free. Liberty Mutual saved us almost $800 when we switched our auto and home insurance.
With Liberty, we can afford a real babysitter instead of your brother. Oh, that's my robe.
Is it? When you switch to Liberty Mutual, you could save $782 on auto and home insurance and still get great coverage for you and your family. Call 1-888-853-3144 for a free quote today. You could save $782. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty. notorious RAG. All I ask of my brother is that they take their feet off our necks.
You could get up. I got no work. I love you. Bye.
Dog home alone all day? Who knows what they'll get into? A day without a walk is a sad day for your dog. But now you can make your dog's day with WAG, the on-demand dog walking app, and a WAG-certified walker to walk your dog at a moment's notice. WAG walks are insured and bonded, and WAG walkers are vetted, experienced dog handlers who will give your dog the affection and attention they deserve. WAG has live GPS tracking and will even tell you where your dog marks its territory.
My dog food.
WAG, the #1 on-demand dog walking app. Get your first walk free when you download the app now.
History come. No offense. Something in tech. Happening now, punishing critics. President Trump revokes the security clearance of former CIA Director John Brennan, threatens to do the same.
Hamiltonians on the basic income pilot project worry they'll be pushed back into poverty. And we'll give you a sneak peek of what you can expect from CNE Opens this Friday.
CECH Evening News with Taz Bogan and Bill Perkins.
Good evening. A Hamilton judge said today that he struggled to sentence the 24-year-old sex offender who broke into a rural home to assault a 15-year-old girl because they
Crown asked for an 8-year jail sentence. Benz asked 4 years. Litt got 5 years for breaking and enter sexual interference and choking to overcome resistance. The Hefner spoke with the victim's father after court. His identity has been hidden in keeping with the law's mandate to protect victims of sexual assault.
Is every parent's worst nightmare?
outside court after sentencing. The victim and her family were just glad Grant Litt was finally behind bars after 2 years out on bail.
He still wants you off you, but she got a little back today.
What do you mean she got a little bit of her youth back today?
She can now go outside and not live here today, whereas the last 2 years she's been afraid. Yes.
Grant Litt thinks of himself as the victim. The 24-year-old says the real attacker must have been another guy who looked like him and drove a similar truck in the same rural area of Flamborough where Litt was working. But the victim remembered his face well enough to help police with this composite sketch, which led to Litt's arrest. Then out of a lineup of photos of young men with heavy brows and thick hair, the then 15-year-old was certain of her attacker, Grant Litt, as seen in his driver's license photo. She said he knocked at her door at 4 p.m. one Friday in March 2016 and asked if her parents were home. She'd been vacuuming and had seen a red truck pull up outside. He then pushed his way inside and threw her to the floor, choking and then assaulting her, until her 12-year-old sister called out, surprising him, and he fled.
When you're talking about disturbing cases, this really hit home. You have an innocent family with a young child at home, 15 years old at the time, and the worst possible thing happened. Someone violated their castle, their home.
Litt said no thank you when he had the opportunity to address the court today. Justice Brett Cameron said sentencing was difficult because Litt maintains his innocence. He has no remorse. Despite your denial at trial, I found you have lied in your evidence in an attempt to explain the incriminating circumstances. I found that your lies made your entire evidence unbelievable, and I found that the case against you was overwhelming. Grant Litt faced similar charges to these ones in his home region of Waterloo, and he was recently acquitted on those counts. Tomorrow morning, he has a bail hearing at the Court of Appeal in Toronto, so he could be out of jail after just one night. For his appeal, he's hired the law firm of Marie Hennon. She's one of the most influential lawyers in Canada, so named by her peers. She's known in part for successfully defending CBC radio host Jian Ghomeshi against sex assault allegations in 2016. Lisa Hefner, CHCH News.
Two men have been charged with first-degree murder in connection with a missing Mississauga man, and one of them is from Hamilton. Field police say 54-year-old David Fielder was last seen on December 2nd, and the circumstances surrounding his disappearance were deemed concerning. Now, 41-year-old Marco Tubik of Hamilton and 45-year-old Jeff Casey of Bracebridge are charged with his murder.
A Canada-wide warrant is out for a man who allegedly breached a supervision order related to a sexual assault. 43-year-old Terrence Matheson was reported missing on August 9th. Police say he's known to the Toronto and Nottawasaga areas. Matheson has tattoos on both forearms and has T-Bone tattooed on his chest. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to contact police.
Alton police have released more details about a fatal two-vehicle crash in Oakville yesterday afternoon. Police say the westbound vehicle was attempting to turn left on Wycroft Road when it collided with an eastbound vehicle. The 35-year-old Oakville man was thrown from his bike and pronounced dead at the scene. His name is not being released. Police say the driver of the vehicle remained on scene and cooperated with the investigation. Anyone who may have witnessed the crash is asked to call police.
Police are investigating after the Hamilton Meat Pie Company was broken into early this morning, and it appears the thief has a bit of a sweet tooth. The company has released a surveillance video, and in it, you can see a person wearing a hoodie, make a beeline for the desk where the cash box is kept. But instead of taking off, he or she is drawn to the cheesecake.
They came in, threw a brick through the front window, snuck in through the underneath the door, and made their way in, stole our cash box, which they clearly knew where it was, stole a couple of drinks, went over, had a look at the world's best cheesecake in the jar. We're about to take one and decide whether they didn't leave.
Agent says it's clear the thief knew he had her way around the store and was careful to avoid security cameras as much as possible. He also believes two people were involved in the break-in, with one of them driving the getaway car, which would explain why the thief took the scooter.
For the thief? Yeah. Good, you're still on the cheesecake. World's best.
Front door is boarded up, but the store remains open. Says support from the community has been huge.
The province has frozen executive pay across the public sector as it reviews how salary increases are granted to top earners at agencies that include school boards, universities, and hospitals. The Ontario Hospital Association says compensation in that sector has been frozen since 2010, but it wants to engage in talks with the government on the compensation review. The president of the Ontario Public School Board Association says compensation was frozen under the previous Liberal government for 8 years, was only recently lifted, and their concerns the new freeze could hurt the ability of boards across the province to attain and attract qualified leaders. Ontario Power Generation executives are also affected, instead of examining the directive, Treasury Board, and would take part in the compensation review, which is expected to wrap in June of next year. Premier Doug Ford has pledged to find $6 billion in efficiencies for the province.
The province had unveiled changes to the way Hydro One board members are paid.
Folks, these measures are practical responses to the excesses that we saw under the previous government. They allow Hydro One to continue to operate independently in the marketplace with an executive management team that has the authority to make good and strategic decisions. We're taking action to restore the public's faith and confidence in our electricity system.
Energy Minister Greg Rickford says board members' pay or any changes to that pay will be reviewed by Queen's Park. The announcement comes one day after Hydro One announced its new board of directors following Doug Ford's move to oust the former CEO, Mayor Schmidt.
Social stories were shared today at Hamilton City Hall from people living here who say they'll once again face poverty after the provincial government's move to cancel the basic income pilot project. Tello is live at City Hall, where this Healthy and Safe Communities meeting was held earlier today. Kelly?
Approximately 1,000 Hamiltonians have been receiving this basic income from the provincial government. Money they say has changed their lives, given them dignity, and made them hopeful for the future. Well, today they shared their stories, and they're urging the councillors to put pressure on the Doug Ford government to keep this project. One by one, Hamiltonians on the Basic Income Project took to the podium to share their stories.
I would be able to work, contribute to society without having to worry about losing everything. And at 69 years old,
Many spoke about the poverty they faced when they relied on Ontario Works and Disability as their source of income. Michael Hampson shared his joy in finally being able to purchase new clothing with basic income.
Well, look at me. I feel fantastic. It's got so many layers of goodness in it about it. Brought me my dignity.
The group Hamilton Roundtable for Poverty Reduction says their plea to counselors today is about making the voices of these Hamiltonians heard at Queen's Park.
To really speak with a unified voice about how stupid this decision was. To start to build people up, to lift them out of poverty, only to pull their legs from right under them is disgusting.
Councillor Matthew Green says emergency agencies will have to be ramped up once this program is cut.
Costs for shelters, with food banks, pressures on our social assistance that is municipally driven.
While the Doug Ford government has said the basic income program may discourage participants from finding work, those who spoke today say all they've known is hard work or the struggle to find employment because of the disability.
So I was working 4 jobs, I was trying to manage my own business, and I just didn't have time or energy because I was working nonstop just to barely make ends meet.
Others have made plans to go back to school or to live in better neighborhoods on the basis that they would be getting this basic income for 3 years. Some of the people I spoke to today say they receive about $1,900 a month of basic income. It's different for everyone, and it's based on a variety of different factors. And while the provincial government has said that participants will be getting their check for August, there's uncertainty as to what will happen come September. Taz?
All right, thanks so much. That's Kelly Metello. Now, Doug Ford says he will consider advice from addiction experts following the province's decision to hold off on pre-planned overdose prevention sites, including one in St. Catharines.
Well, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. We will reach out. Given everyone my word, we're going to reach out. But our main goal again is to save lives. Just to remind everyone, we're putting $3.8 billion, 1.9 from the province, 1.9 from the feds, in rehabilitation, helping people with addictions, mental health, and housing.
Those sites were set to open in Toronto, St. Catharines, and Thunder Bay. The news comes as Toronto police issue a public safety alert after 7 people have died in suspected opioid overdoses in just the past 12 days.
As Canada moves to legalize pot for recreational use in just a couple of months, still a lot of questions on how to exactly regulate. The Ontario government saying this week it's still working out those details. Despite that, big businesses are recognizing a growing industry and are looking for a piece of the market. Britt Dixon, live in the studio with more. Britt?
Good evening. Today, a local liquor company announced it's spending $5 billion for a stake in the cannabis market. It's the biggest cannabis deal yet, and an industry analyst we spoke to today says there's a big future in pot, and Canada is leading the way.
It's a summer celebration that is known for many things, but the unique food is one of the main highlights.
There are all sorts of tantalizing treats. I personally am going over to try a new rendition of the.
In just over 2 months, this will be legal. The Ontario government announced this week plans to sell recreational cannabis in private stores instead of publicly owned outlets.
This is a great move, and it's going to open the door for a lot of Canadians and people outside this country as well to get involved in the industry.
Like global liquor giant Constellation Brands, today it made what's being described as the biggest investment in the marijuana industry yet, spending about $5 billion to boost its stake in Canadian grower Canopy Growth.
What it shows is that the mainstream business world is coming into this industry, and this could trigger a wave of companies from big tobacco, big pharma, big agriculture, big tech, the list goes on, of them putting significant investments into the industry and trying to dominate like they do elsewhere.
Investors seeing the potential for a vibrant consumer market, even though there's still a lot of questions about how it'll work. The legal age will remain 19 and you'll only be allowed to light up in your private residence. But this week, the province said it was still working out how strict regulations governing the new system would be enforced.
There's concern around impaired driving, but it's a lot trickier to regulate cannabis than it is to regulate alcohol. Part of the problem is that it's difficult to pinpoint
follow. And when it comes to, testing and testing requirements and how you keep this away from kids, the industry is still feeling its way along, as are governments and regulators.
And people will be watching as Canada becomes the first G7 country to legalize pot for recreational use.
It's key for Canada to do this correctly because it's leading the world right now in this industry. A lot of people are going to look to Canada and see how they attempt to regulate it and what works and what doesn't.
Saying this could trigger a wave of legalization around the world.
He also said there will be money to be made in pot tourism, depending on how it's regulated, giving the example of a Bud B&B, a hotel where you can smoke marijuana. And in places like Colorado, they have cannabis tours, similar to a winery or a brewery tour. Back to you. All right, thanks so much, Brent. A former chair of Via Real has been named as the new head of the board of the provincial transit agency, Metrolinx. Singapore Capital Chair Donald Wright replaces Robert Pritchard, who stepped down last month because he said the election of the new government calls for a change in leadership. Transportation Minister John Yakubuski says Wright's experience will help the province deliver on its promise to improve transit in the Toronto and Hamilton region.
Bittersweet news, it's an end of summer ritual that is visited by more than 1.5 million people. The highly anticipated Canadian National Exhibition starts this Friday, and as Alyssa Gazer was there, gives a little bit of a sneak peek.
It's a summer celebration that is known for many things, but the unique food is one of the main highlights.
There are all sorts of tantalizing treats. I personally am going over to try a new rendition of the caramel apple, but there's all sorts of wacky foods here today.
It is an incredible mixed freshly baked eclair filled with Philly's cheesesteak, provolone, bananas, chocolate, whipped cream. It is truly crazy cool. It's food galore here at the CNE, and I'm the lucky one that got to taste it all. Just like this cotton candy milkshake.
It's good. Well, this wacky fair food has taken off in the last 5 to 10 years, and it's almost like a competition between these vendors. I mean, they work on these recipes all year long and come up with these wacky concoctions.
The CNE is also debuting a makeover of one of their most popular rides called the Zipper.
We were talking about retiring the Zipper last year, and because of really public outcry and people really missing the Zipper, we sent it in over the winter time for ground up refurbishment, which was mechanical and also appearance-wise.
And the CNE is showcasing the world's largest indoor lantern festival called The Legends of the Silk Road Come to Light.
This exhibit is entirely unique for the CNE. It will only be here, it won't be anywhere else. It was designed with a creative brief from the CNE staff itself, wanting to celebrate really the Chinese Canadian Year of Tourism.
The CNE opens this Friday until September 3rd and is $20 a person. Alyssa Gazer, CHCH News.
That's Ethics Outside Brian. Well, you know what that means. Opening the CNE means summer's almost over.
Well, it always means that for the kids because they know that, okay, the CNE, couple of weeks, and then bang, there it is, school. But for the rest of us, summer's going to go on for a while. We're going to enjoy it, and then we have a summer-like day today, Taz. We got the 29, the Next 35 for the day, and lots of sunshine. And if a breeze helps things feel a little more comfortable, though. Here's what the radar shot. There's been no precipitation into southern Ontario as far as the Horseshoe and southwest. But look at the precipitation through Kingston, toward Ottawa, through Gananoque as well. There's heavy thunderstorms there. We could get some fog patches overnight. Tomorrow, we're going to get the showers and thunderstorms as the low-pressure system approaches. It's going to decrease the heat, and you're going to talk about that coming up.
Thank you, Brian. A judge has approved interim payments to those affected by the Humboldt Broncos bus crash. GoFundMe payments of $50,000 will be given to each of the 13 survivors and families of the 16 people who died in the crash.
One of the things that we want to do going forward with a lot of this is just be a little bit more philanthropic, if you will, with some of the things that come our way. There's a couple different scholarships that are in Evan's name, a couple hockey tournaments, a baseball tournament, things like that. So all of these things will allow us to move forward in our planning and as a state.
The junior hockey team's bus collided with a transport truck in April. More than $15.2 million has been donated to the Guns GoFundMe campaign that was created after the crash. The death toll from yesterday's bridge collapse in Genoa, Italy, has now risen to 39. The Italian government is allocating nearly $7.5 million for the search and rescue costs. It's also declared a 12-month state of emergency for the city.
A large section of the bridge crumbled during a strong storm yesterday, sending vehicles plunging to the ground. The 50-year-old bridge is undergoing maintenance when it collapsed. Italy's prime minister says early signs point to structural failure.
Minister of Canada statues is when it comes to addressing the darker side of Canadian history. The issue of tearing down statues has been a hot topic this week after Victoria City Council voted to remove the statue of Sir John A. Macdonald, Canada's first Prime Minister. Macdonald's role in establishing residential schools has made him a polarizing figure in reconciliation efforts with Indigenous people.
I think that our history is extraordinarily important, and that there are parts of our history that might be troublesome, but maybe that it's important to look at how do we tell those stories. And so I think that you can't generalize. I think you need to look at example by example. And as Minister responsible and also the historic board, I've tasked them to look at how do you have a thoughtful way with addressing concerns with certain people in our history. But you can't erase history. I personally believe that it's important that we recognize our history, the good and bad, and that we tell stories, because it's by telling stories that we will recognize that we can do better.
Prime Minister Kathy McKenna has asked the Historic Sites and Monuments Board of Canada to look at how to address concerns.
We're going to take a break. We'll want to come back. A new ride is coming to Canada's Wonderland, and it has a big drop that's very different from the rest. Sylvie Ledbeck will bring us more on the upcoming attraction next.
This program brought to you in part by Lake of Bays Brewing Company. Paddle on Session Ale is available now at the beer store, LCBO, and select grocery stores.
What was the motive for telling her we did that? Diane Fossey, Secret Events, premieres Monday at 10 on CHCH.
One of the major perks of working at Ford is that I get employee pricing all year round.
And during the summer, every Canadian gets to share in the price.
You get the price. I get. It's very easy.
Walk in and say, I want that Mustang.
I get over $15,000 on this application. I've literally gone coast to coast in a Ford truck.
I have an escape. It's named Nelly. Nelly's ready to go wherever I want to go.
I'm just cool cruising down the road. I'm the boss in this SUV.
Why would you wait?
The $1,000 Costco offer ends August 31st.
We don't have much time. You ready to do this?
Now listen, I'm only going to tell you this once, okay?
You're going to impress me, yeah?
I need unprecedented access to the entire system.
I don't want to mess around looking for my shows no more.
I want to search Netflix, YouTube, and live TV, all from one spot.
And I want to do it all with my voice.
I don't think that's too much to ask.
Well then,
You got that?
Yeah, not a problem. With our new Ignite TV, you get all that and more. All in one search with Netflix and YouTube, plus the voice remote.
That's what I like to hear.
You know, I can tell you're a good kid, huh?
I'm ready to say this, but well done.
Thank you.
With effortless access to your world of entertainment, now you are in command. Ignite TV.
Welcome back, Brian's here with a look at the forecast. It was really hot.
It really was.
It was. It was a sticky day today. It wasn't quite as hot as what the forecast we had thought, maybe 30 with 37 the humidex. Today we got 29, humidex 35. So it was still pretty sticky today. 28 degrees is our temperature right now, 82 degrees above zero Fahrenheit. You factor in the humidity, it feels like 35 at the moment. And that west-southwesterly breeze at 14 kilometers an hour, which is making it feel a little bit better today. So what we're looking at right now with the radar is, well, not an awful lot. There hasn't been anything over the past 6 hours in and around the horseshoe. See well off towards the east, getting some showers, a lot of precipitation, Ottawa, through Canada, nothing for us. And there shouldn't be anything for southern and southwestern Ontario until late tonight, early tomorrow morning. We're looking at this line of precipitation.
starting to grow across us, some showers or storms as a low pressure system climbs across us, and that's going to happen during the day tomorrow. We'll see partly cloudy skies tonight, and then by the time we get to Friday, a more northerly flow, that's what's going to cool off the temperatures and decrease the humidity. So we have this weak low pressure system that's going to crawl up across us and give us the instability for the day tomorrow, and that's what's going to change the weather pattern. We're going to see that but northerly flow start to push its way across us, and the high pressure for the weekend, there's some good news for us. So tonight, temperature back down to 19, about where we were last night. Well, we will get some fog patches tonight, and some clouds as well. The winds will start to die off, become fairly light. Tomorrow's Coachelli's furniture forecast, 27 degrees, so a little bit cooler for tomorrow. Humidex once again 35. We'll get some showers and possible thunderstorms, but we should start out to be fairly sunny in the morning, and then those clouds will start to push in. So temperatures right now, 28 for Hamilton, 30 for Wednesday, 28 for Toronto, 29 degrees right now. Mississauga. And we'll look on orange coming up for Catonsville.
Thank you, Brian. Canada's Wonderland is making its biggest investment since they opened almost 40 years ago.
The next year will feature a world record-breaking roller coaster. We'll also welcome guests for the winter season, so Glenn Bay as Aspen.
The longest, tallest, and fastest dive coaster in the world, the Yukon Striker, is now under construction. A dive coaster is one that drops 90 degrees and has a feeling of free falling for passengers. This floorless coaster holds you staring down at the ground for 3 seconds before you plunge.
And when you drop, you're going from 0 to 130 kilometers an hour, and you're twisting into surprising inversions all throughout the ride because you don't see them coming.
The coaster will dive down here, under this water, through this tunnel, and shoot back up through here. And it's probably not for the faint-hearted.
You can sit for 3 seconds at a 90-degree drop and plunge at 245 feet into an underground tunnel. Yeah, you want to be able to.
It will be the centerpiece of Frontier Canada, the Canadian themed section in the park. The second edition for the year will be Winterfest. They are called a Winter Wonderland. The park normally closes after Halloween. Next year, it will reopen in November.
There's going to be massive Christmas trees. We're going to have ice skating. We're going to have shows. We're going to have singing and dancing and holiday food.
It's the perfect date night for millennials, and it's also really a family event, family first. So a lot of parents with their young children, because when you get to walk into the front gates, it's like walking into the poster.
And the coaster will be ready for the start of next season in April. Sylvie Lembé, CHCH News.
That looks truly terrifying.
Yeah, that was a night like for millennials. Only millennials. Sorry, only people under 35 can go to this.
I'm pretty sure it's on all ages. All right. Up next, President Donald Trump has revoked the security clearance for an ex-CIA director, and he's now responding on Twitter.
Don't take Entresto with an ACE inhibitor or Alispir, or if you've had angioedema with an ACE or ARB. The most serious side effects are angioedema, low blood pressure, kidney problems, or high blood potassium. Ask your doctor about Entresto for heart failure. Yeah. Entrust your heart to Entresto.
The beat goes on.
That's a mini wheat. Delicious. But it's more than that. 10 layers of crunchy wheat to fill you up on big days. Whether your day involves steak, mountains, or fire, we got your breakfast right here. It's your breakfast built for big days.
Feel the clarity of non-drowsy children's Claritin allergy relief. The #1 pediatrician recommended non-drowsy brand. Hands to a kid. A grassy hill is irresistible. Children's Claritin. Feel the clarity and live clarity clear.
Welcome back. It's time now for Just Events. Zookeepers in Indiana got some exercise this week after a baby giraffe tried to make a run for it. 7-month-old Tafisa escaped from his pen and was loose for about 2 hours before officials were able to and got her safely back home. Now, thankfully, Tafisa was just running around in a non-public area of the park, so nobody got hurt. Now, Tafisa is resting safely after her big adventure. We'll cover in our next half hour why people can't stop talking about J-Lo's performance last night in a barely there outfit. Plus, Beyonce continues to party with Destiny's Child. DailyMail.com is where the world gets its news, so if you're addicted and want more, make sure you check us out online and also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. See you next time.
Catch Family Feud tonight at 7 and 7:30 on CBS 62. Our client was seriously injured when she was hit by a bus. We tried her case and won a multi-million-dollar jury verdict right here in the courthouse. Fighting and winning for our client in court and trial, that's the Bernstein advantage. 1-800-CALL-SAM.
Selling or trading your car can sometimes be more trouble than it's worth. I'm Alex Rogers with Volunteers of America. We turn every donated car into a vehicle for people in need. We'll quickly pick up your car, boat, RV, or motorcycle free of charge, handle all the paperwork, and you can get a great tax deduction. It's really that simple. Call now and see if donating your vehicle makes sense for you.
Monroe, get ready. Here comes the original Gun and Knife Show. This Saturday and Sunday, the original Monroe Gun and Knife Show comes to the Monroe County Fairgrounds at the Expo Center. Rows and rows of dealers and collectors from around the Midwest. A world-class collection of handguns, rifles, knives, ammo, military equipment, and more. We buy it, we sell it, we trade it. Get ready. It's the original Monroe Gun and Knife Show. Courtesy of the Monroe County Fairgrounds at the Expo Center, 3775 South Chester Road.
After a serious accident, there are two types of people. Those who get the Bernstein advantage and those who wish they had. So when the insurance company is giving you the runaround, it's the Bernstein advantage. 1-800-CALL-SAM.
On the CBS TV News this Wednesday, while the White House says it is revoking the security clearance of former CIA Director John Brennan. And a mass overdose in one New England city puts the focus on the growing danger of a spreading synthetic drug. But first, the headlines in 60 seconds.
The White House is taking on the former head of the CIA. Mr. Brennan has a history that calls into question his objectivity and credibility.
Mr. Trump believes that this is going to lead me to go away and be quiet, and he is very badly mistaken.
The death toll rising after a bridge collapse in Italy.
Italy's Prime Minister has announced a 12-month state of emergency.
More fallout from the report on child sex abuse by priests.
Catholic Church used what amounted to a playbook for concealing the truth. Find victims filed a lawsuit saying you were conspiring to cover up the abuse. False. A report found that popular breakfast foods and cereals contain a chemical that can be linked to cancer. Researchers found trace amounts of a chemical used to kill weeds in oats.
Students returned to class this morning in Marjorie Stone and Douglas High School.
And school leaders are unveiling major upgrades to the security system. It doesn't make me feel safer.
About 80 cars were torched overnight in Sweden by masked vandals. Police saying these are arson attacks that were coordinated online by youth gangs.
Post call Springfield Branson National Airport. Officials say people are driving through runways to get to a company picnic. Wow, that was not a wise decision.
Good evening, I'm Jeff Lawrence. We're going to begin tonight with the president and the former head of the CIA. In a surprise announcement today, the White House said that John Brennan would be stripped of his security clearance. These two men do not like each other. The White House says Brennan has made unfounded, irresponsible claims and has indicated he made money off his assets. This after Brennan said, "It's astounding how often you fail to live up to minimum standards of decency, civility, and probity. Seems like you will never understand what it means to be president." Major Garrett has more on all this.
At the White House briefing today, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders read a statement from the president.
I've decided to revoke the security clearance of John Brennan, former director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Mr. Brennan's line and recent conduct, characterized by increasingly frenzied commentary, is wholly inconsistent with access to the nation's most closely held secrets and facilities.
Brennan reacted shortly afterward on MSNBC.
I do believe that Mr. Trump decided to take this action, as he's done with others, to try to intimidate and suppress any criticism of him or his administration. And revoking my security clearances is his way of trying to get back at me.
Brennan served as CIA director under President Obama and was part of the team that briefed President-elect Trump on Russian interference in the 2016 election.
President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today.
After the president's press conference with Russian President Vladimir Putin last month, Brennan tweeted, "It was nothing short of treasonous." This was Brennan last night.
I think Donald Trump has badly sullied the reputation of the office of the presidency.
In an interview with Jeff Glor in mid-July, Mr. Trump made his disdain for Brennan clear.
I have no confidence in a guy like Brennan. I think he's a total lowlife.
Former government officials often retain security clearances so they can advise their successors. Sanders said the administration was reviewing the clearances of several other former...
Hello. I'm good. How are you? I was digging that hole out there for the gravel, and I just came in to watch the 6:30 news and have a coffee. How about you? I did. I had ham and bacon on a bun. It was quite nice. Oh, it was awesome. And tomato. Oh, it was awesome. Tomato. Miter. Got some left there. Miter. Got miters. I love you too. Oh, I am too. And I kept questioning myself, but you know what? It was dead. There's just no question. Yeah. And that I just said it was 2 placentas. That we'd given her some oxytocin and that she was a little lethargic, and I gave her a hot shower to make sure she didn't have mastitis, and then she delivered it. I don't know if anybody really saw it. I don't think you could really. I'm not sure if you could see it or not. But yeah, and I said it was 2 placentas. So on the camera, yeah. So when you think nobody's watching, well, I was. This